Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me? I'll just check the chat, make sure the chat's working. Great. My name is Matthew Holdenreid. I'm with the Center for the Entertainment Arts, and we welcome you to this KPU Entertainment Arts info session hosted by the CEA. So what is our mission? We like to encourage the artist, elevate the professional, and empower the industry. And how do we do that? By partnering with people like KPU. We're able to bring high-level curriculum that prepares you for a life in industry with all the advantages of a huge and powerful academic partner like KPU. So we give you access to industry standard tools and software and the best and brightest instructors around, instructors that have worked on projects like Game of Thrones, animated films, high-level AAA video games, and here's some more as well. Really impressive credentials from our instructors. And they're working in, a lot of our instructors, 90% of them work in studio during the day and then teach at night. So you're actually getting the type of education from ultra high level professionals that are at the cutting edge of the industry, techniques and processes. We have alumni working at a lot of big studios already. It's great to see. We always love seeing their posts on LinkedIn when they get new jobs. And you can see the list here, and it's more than this, but here's some of the heavy hitters. And it's super inspiring to see. And it always makes us so happy when we see the success of the alumni coming out of the program, landing at massive studios. And now, without further ado, Shelley, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Shelley Boyd is the Dean of the Faculty of Arts at KPU. Is that correct, Shelley?
That is right.
Yeah. Tell us a bit, how long have you been at KPU, and tell us a bit about yourself.
Been at KPU, I guess, since 2010. I was hired in the English department, a Canadian literature specialist, and then moved into the Dean's office in 2019 as an associate dean and just became the dean as of August. So delighted to be here, and of course to be partnering here with CEA for this info session, and of course to talk about these programs, which we're really excited about and proud to be sharing today.
Excellent. And we'll begin with traditional welcome.
Yeah. So of course, just wanted to acknowledge that all of our campuses here at KPU are situated on the unceded traditional and ancestral lands of the Kwantlen, Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Kakite, and Coquitlam peoples, and especially to honor the Kwantlen First Nation that bestowed its name on the university many years ago, which means tireless runner. And we try to live up to that in everything we do here at KPU and in the Faculty of Arts.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk the Faculty of Arts for a bit. Tell us a little bit about the expansive list of programs available for students, and then we can talk a little more entertainment arts and logistics stuff.
Yeah, the Kwantlen here at KPU, Faculty of Arts is one of the largest faculties at KPU. We have over 20 distinct programs, ranging, of course, across the humanities, the social sciences, the fine arts, and of course, now the entertainment arts as well. Well, great thing, I guess you could say about the Faculty of Arts is students, because of that breadth of offerings, they really get to come and experience and discover things about who they are, where their skills lie, their passions, their talents. And, I always say to students, when you come to KPU, be curious and explore who you are, and you will discover something. And of course, it'll launch you into your career. We're very much a hands-on learning environment as well. And of course, that very much connects with the kinds of offerings of programs in the entertainment arts.
Fantastic. And what about Richmond, Vancouver, the region, opportunities for recreation, lifestyle, just quality of life? Talk a bit about that for us.
Yeah, well, Vancouver, of course, and Richmond, which is located very nearby, the greater Vancouver area. Fabulous place to live, gorgeous environment. You have the ocean, Pacific Ocean nearby, wonderful trails and natural surroundings. If you like the outdoors for hiking, of course, Vancouver itself, an incredibly vibrant city in terms of course, cultural diversity, the arts, and of course, as it's known, the Hollywood North. So very much a center of industry, so an excellent place pursuing a career and for living.
And Richmond itself, an amazing city, connected to Vancouver by all kinds of things, roads,
That's right.
transit, yeah, and home of our international airport as well.
That's right. And this, of course, where the entertainment arts programs are located at our Richmond campus, which, of course, is very close to Vancouver. It's right on the Canada line. And Richmond, of course, very diverse, vibrant city as well. Of course, the photography there is the Richmond Night Market, which has fabulous food offerings throughout many months of the year, which I've visited, and it's quite the experience. So yeah, Richmond itself is really vibrant and close. As I said, the SkyTrain, it's a quick 20-minute commute. I was on the Richmond campus yesterday. I took the SkyTrain. I live in Yaletown and hopped on the SkyTrain and was immediately on campus. And it's also a quick jaunt to the airport. I've also taken the SkyTrain from Richmond campus right to the airport. It's really quick, and so it's highly accessible. And of course, Vancouver too. I mean, there's so many different traveling opportunities, the ferry, Harbor Air. If you're wanting to make a quick jaunt over to Vancouver Island and on all the Gulf Islands. So it's a beautiful location to live in and to study in.
Absolutely. You want to go to Seattle for the weekend, you can splurge a bit, take a helicopter,
That's right,
or float plane to Victoria to see Vancouver Island.
And Seattle is so close and a quick drive. So
yeah, fantastic. And I want to mention too, it's not maybe another year or two, but the extension of the SkyTrain line on Broadway from Broadway Station to Commercial puts students, KPU Richmond, it's going to be even faster and easier to live pretty much anywhere you want in Vancouver, because the SkyTrain is going to intersect with the line that goes all the way downtown, and it's going to go closer to the university, and then all the way to Commercial Drive that connects to the major network of trains as well. So exciting stuff, and the connectivity in the city is just growing rapidly.
Yeah, I know a lot of students like living in Kitsilano, so that'll be because of course the beaches are very close. So of course, getting on the bus and hopping on the SkyTrain is a very easy commute.
Yeah, it's nice to be close to the seawall and everything. A little bit more about Richmond. I see the Olympic Oval here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, Richmond, of course, was very much a central part for the Olympics back in 2010. So, of course, we still have all of those world-class centers, right? Especially here with the Oval for sports, health, and wellness. So if people are enjoying outdoor activities and indoor ones and sporting, this is definitely the place for them.
We actually hosted a CA Air event at the Richmond Oval, and it's the whole area around there is so impressive and modern, and it's kind of like I kind of wanted to live there. When I was there, I was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed in Richmond, but it's such a nice area. It kind of feels a little bit Olympic Village-esque in closer to downtown Vancouver. So it's very cool. And of course, we'd be remiss to not mention Vancouver is one of the largest cluster, if not the largest cluster of studios for film, television, and gaming with animation in the world. It's literally, last time I checked a couple of years ago, it was 60, but it might be 80 now. And it's the full range from small studios to the biggest studios in the world, like Electronic Arts. And there's a lot of studios here working on streaming shows for Disney Plus and Amazon and Netflix. So it really is Hollywood North, as you said, and maybe more Hollywood than Hollywood now.
So thinking about students coming to KPU for the entertainment arts programs, I mean, this is an exceptional city to come to because, of course, not only are you going to be learning those skills for your career, but you'll be well situated to move right into a studio and, sort of launching yourself on that career path because there'll be so many options.
Yeah, absolutely. And some more big news, huge renovations planned for the campus at Richmond for the entertainment arts programs. Talk us through that.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, Matt. This is coming, of course, in the Richmond campus, and there's 2 floors that are going to be renovated, the second and third floor, which will be the entertainment arts or ENTA wing. We call it ENTA for short. And this, of course, is going to be happening starting in 2023. We're hoping that those will be completed later in 2023. But it's going to be a complete revamp of that area with some exciting new studio lab spaces for the classrooms, as well as lounge spaces for students. So it'll be a dynamic space, colorful space, very much to replicate that studio feel that students would eventually have as they move into their careers. proud of this. And of course, I've been attending a lot of meetings talking about these renos. And so we're getting very excited to start seeing it happen.
Fantastic. That's going to be huge. I saw some of the plans too, and I'm really impressed and super excited for you guys to get started. It's going to be amazing. It's going to transform everything for the ENTA programs at KPU. So that's great. And one other announcement is there's a new program launching in January 2024. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yes, yeah, we're excited about this. Of course, we have a number of programs already launched, and this will be the final one that will be launching. So our first intake will be January 2024. And of course, really excited to add this to the roster of the programs that we offer, thinking about advanced 2D animation and is, of course, sort of fueling that need in the industry for students wanting to pursue careers here.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to a guest coming up here right away about a little more about 2D, the history of it and how it's used in the industry. But really, it's funny. 3D is such a new thing relatively to the history of animation for most of the time since animation began, and the first tricklings of animated shorts back in the early 1900s, all the way through to almost 2000. You saw some early stuff in the 90s, 80s, and 90s with 3D animation, but it was, I'd say, grotesque and a bit odd to look at. But then it obviously took over. But now there's all these new techniques being employed with 2D and the mix of 2D and 3D that's really exciting and creating incredible and beautiful work. So very intelligent and smart choice launching that program. And we're super excited about that. Okay, that's it. Easy.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you, Shelley. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, our next guest, I'm going to play his demo reel. He's Paul Firminger, the longtime creative director from an editorial background. Generally a great guy, and we'll talk to him after we check out his reel. There he is. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, full disclosure, I worked with Paul a long time ago. He was kind of my mentor, my reluctant mentor. Taught me a lot about editing and life. It was a great experience for me. And now, Paul, you are the co-owner and creative director of Fish Flight Entertainment. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Fish Flight is my own company. Started it back in 2017. But the story of Fish Flight starts in I think 2000 or so. I was a student going to UBC. I did film school at UBC, and we were doing a tour of Rainmaker, which is now Encore. I believe it's on 52 West 2nd. It's a big visual effects facility. Anyway, back then it was just a film lab and post, a little small VFX boutique in there. And I was watching this reel of all this awesome stuff that had been going on in Vancouver back in 2000. And this person told me the story. The person giving the presentation, he told me the story about the Fish Flight, about how they first started getting work up here in Vancouver. And back in the day, film had to be transported in these huge reels. It wasn't something you couldn't do a digital delivery every day. You had to physically transport this heavy film. And LA execs, the only way that they would allow posts to be done in Vancouver is if they could watch their morning dailies at 9 a.m. as if the post was being done in LA. So the people that were trying to get post-production work up here, they looked at different flights, and there was a Delta Airlines flight that left super early in the morning that took freshly caught fish to LA restaurants. That was called the fish flight. And they started loading film reels on that, getting it to LA execs. They greenlit the first projects. And then that fish flight ended up being used when I was in visual effects right at the start, because we were doing film outs and had to get films and tapes. Then eventually digital delivery kind of took over. But anyway, I heard that story, and I just turned to the person beside me and I said, I'm going to start a company called Fish Flight one day. And he laughed at me. And that student, we kept working together. Now he's an executive producer at my company. It's pretty cool. So
There you go.
Fish Flight does mainly games outsourcing. We do all of our animation through the Unreal Engine, which probably makes you wonder why I'm speaking here today. But besides Fish Flight, I also work for a company called Wind Sun Sky. I direct episodic animation with them. And in the world of episodic animation, I would say it's maybe 80% 2D. Packages like Harmony and Adobe Animate, which used to be Flash, they're really good for episodic productions, stuff where it's limited environments. You build the characters. You're not doing crazy cinematic shots. You can really do a lot of storytelling in the world of 2D, and you're not bound to the same limitations as if you're doing something in 3D. So when we started working on Invincible season one of Robert Kirkman's main mandates was that we had to make something that looked true to the comic book. And so we knew we had to do a 2D execution for that. That was the only way to get that aesthetic. So actually for Invincible season one, we got the animation done in Korea and Japan, and a company in Seoul and a company in Tokyo. And I went to visit those companies a few times during the production of the show. I was episode director on episode 2, episode 6, and I was also the CGI director for the whole season. It was crazy going to these facilities because they actually did like the first panels on paper. And so I would go look at these huge shelves, and each shelf would have these thick file folders filled with pages, and you could flip through them and that would be a shot. They take those shots and they take those frames, they scan them in, and then once they're digital, they do all the coloring and everything from there.
Wow.
But
So they were using old techniques.
yeah, they're using old techniques, but still, yeah, we could talk about this. Like they were doing, there was so many limitations by doing these old techniques in Invincible 1. For example, you couldn't push in too much on a shot, because if you push in, they're actually when they're filming it, they move the camera closer to the image, and so the pencil lines would get really thick. So you would have to, if you wanted to do a push in that was over a certain amount of a certain percentage, would actually have to draw a bunch of panels and crossfade between them in order to get a consistent look. So it was crazy working in that traditional animation workflow. We had a bunch of technicians in LA who would do these X sheets. They would watch every single frame of the storyboards of the animatic, and they would make a little mark for what the mouth shape would be from a collection of mouth shapes. And that would go to the artists in Korea. They would use those mouth shapes, and then I would review it on our side, and I'd give lip sync notes to them, and then they would redraw the lip sync. It was pretty crazy process, but I think that the result is very true to the comic book and a really nostalgic look. And one of the other big challenges for me as a CGI director is that 80% of the show was 2D, but 20% of the show was 3D, like for all the crowds, all the vehicles, all explosions. So we really had to combine 2D and 3D, and that aesthetic has become huge in entertainment today. Like Matt has this image up here of Arcane. Arcane, while all the characters are 3D, a lot of the backgrounds are 2D painted, and a lot of the textures are 2D painted, so it has a real 2D aesthetic. And obviously, Enter the Spider-Verse has a real combination of 2D, 3D. Some of the characters are completely 2D, some of the characters are 3D. And after Invincible, I moved on to this other show. It's the first Adult Swim original content in Canada. It's going to be coming out next summer. Actually, I'm just aware, maybe I shouldn't say the title of it.
Just stop.
Yeah, but it's going to be pretty cool. And that show is 80%, somewhere around there, maybe closer to 90%, but about 80% animated using Adobe Animate. But we've taken 3D assets, we render out special poses, and we give that to an animation team. Actually, they're working out of Toronto, this one. And then they animate each of those shots in Animate, do all the lip sync in Animate. So again, it's a real combination of 2D and 3D, which has become the norm. But here's an example of a bunch of different companies in town that are using 2D, and there's even more than this. But I really love that Titmouse is up there. I don't know if you guys have seen season 3 of Love, Death, and Robots, but they have an amazing 2D animated short in there that is like a love letter to the original Predator film. So you should watch it. And Matt, if you haven't watched it yet, you should check it out. It's pretty good.
I will. Well, thanks for joining us today, Paul. There's so much we could talk about. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm probably going over, and I haven't even scratched
fine.
the surface, but I just want to say
exactly.
one more thing is that even though Invincible was animated traditionally, and probably no one here is going to be animating cells by hand, all of the directors besides myself came up through 2D animation. They were all storyboard artists, and if you can storyboard, then you can own the story, and you can define the shots. You can put your own creative spin on it. When I look at animation, when I look at the directors around me, I'd say editorial is the second most popular route, but the first most popular is storyboard / animation. If you want to become a director, moving up through storyboards and 2D animation is a smart move. And even on shows where we don't end up, we end up working in 3D, a lot of them originate with 2D animation software like Storyboard Pro, which hooks into Harmony. So I think it's a very important skill to have. I wish I was better at drawing, and if you saw my stick figure storyboards, you'd probably laugh at them. But that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, well, I can second that. Every great production I've ever worked on started with super solid pre-production, and mainly the story being locked at the storyboard point with flourishes and minor adaptations and camera embellishments being added after the fact. But if you can get the timing locked early, and you can set your tone, and the emotion comes through in the storyboards when you're watching them, that sets up the whole pipeline up for success. And every artist on the production, it gives them a clear indication of what they're making and what to expect throughout the rest of the production. And you don't have that, and things get wild. Things get wild, and they can turn dark when people start to get confused and they're not sure what they're making anymore. So a solid storyboard edit is key in everything, and that begins with 2D.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Well said.
Thanks, Paul. Well,
yeah,
thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We'll buy you some lunch sometime or something. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Paul. Bye. Okay. And we've been talking about advanced 2D animation in January 2024. So what is that program going to look like? We'll do a super high level overview right now, and then we'll come back maybe in January and do a full in-depth info session so everybody can get a better idea of what to expect. But as Paul said, you're going to learn things like character animation, effects animation, character design, background design, storyboarding. You're going to learn traditional art like digital painting. You're going to do digital cutout style, the rigging animation, the lighting and compositing. So really, it's about fundamentals and then teaching you technical expertise. So you can take all the fundamental stuff and put it in a kind of a production scenario and be confident about that. Here's a look at the different classes or courses through the terms. I'll leave this up here so somebody could screenshot if they're interested. But you can see lots of figure drawing. You're going to learn storytelling because that's huge. That's going to drive a lot of the art that you're creating. You're going to learn how to do concepts, character concepts. And then you're going to get into effects and animation. And then you're going to figure out how to put all that together and create an industry project for your demo reel. Main software is Harmony, Storyboard Pro, and the Adobe Suite, Animate, which Paul said used to be Flash. You'll learn Photoshop. There's a lot you can actually do in After Effects too. So that's an important piece of software for 2D, and Premiere for editing. And then, of course, we use all the Microsoft programs. So is Isha in the wings? Isha, are you around?
Hello. Yeah.
Oh, she is. Oh, fantastic. This is a last minute addition. She kindly agreed to help me out today. I know she's super busy working on these big shows, as you could see at Image Engine. Isha has a unique story. She was in the animation program, but she always had her eye on production. So she kind of did create your own destiny type approach to this and learned animation and graduated successfully from the program, but always knew she'd be headed into production. Am I correct with that, Isha?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So tell us a bit about these amazing shows you've been working on, and pretty much all in the last year since you graduated, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking. You tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's honestly been awesome. Image Engine, I think, like really gave me a warm welcome to the industry, and it was my first studio since school, and it just felt like I fit right in. And since we worked on these projects, the pipeline is just so robust, I think, between deadlines that we have. And it just feels like every single project we jump on, the team is super enthusiastic to tackle any difficulties that we have, especially under deadlines. You know, it gets to deadlines, right? And it's just wonderful how everything comes together and we see it on the big screen. And it's a dream team.
That's fantastic. So Image Engine, as you said, is a very technical studio, very serious, but filled with lighthearted people. And they get the amount of work that they do. If you just go to the Image Engine website and look at the reel, is astronomical, like how much work you guys get through. So it's fantastic there. Tell me a bit about your thoughts on how important the team mentality, like learning to work with other people while you're in school is, and respecting the pipeline and understanding everyone's place within the pipeline in order to create successful production.
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, like filmmaking or series making, this industry is like team effort, right? Like I think one has to be like a team player because if you're working in one department, you know, let's say animation, like we have to collaborate with people in layout for us to get those files and those bundles, right? So every department does depend on every other upstream and downstream department. So, and that's how we create a robust pipeline. So it's extremely important to be able to understand how to be a team player.
And do you feel confident now in your choice to follow a production career? Are you loving it?
Absolutely. Like, honestly, I think I never for a minute, like I even like jittered, like I knew it was the right decision for me. And I've just been really happy working with great productions and great teams. And it's been great.
How do you feel? This is always interesting. Way back when I started, how do you feel seeing those shots when they come through, those amazing shots with like huge actors before everybody else, and watching their development through the stages of production? How explain that experience to me?
Oh, it's just so great. Like when I see the plates that we ingest from set, and then we get all the information, and then everything is ready. It's just beautiful. It's like wow, like a lot of cool effect simulations, and then we have comp put it all together, and lighting makes everything beautiful, and it's just like knowing the process that went behind it, and all the artists that worked on it, the hard work, right? So it's just extremely beautiful when everything comes together.
Well, everybody at CA is super proud of you and all the work you're doing. I don't know what else to say. It's so impressive. So I'll let you get back to work. And thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you soon. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Isha. Okay. Next, we have a little reel from our programs, and then we're going to bring Ivo on to talk the advanced programs quickly and give us a little overview of those. Ivo, there you are.
Matt,
Welcome.
hey.
Ivo
Thank
is
you.
our CA VP of Education. He has been with us for years now, and he's got a games background, but he's also just intelligent about most things to do with animation, visual effects, and games. So we're going to let him run through our advanced diploma programs. So I will get out of your hair, Ivo. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, I'm going to talk about VFX, 3D animation and modeling and game development, which are advanced programs, which I guess will answer a few questions I already saw in the chat. So some of you were wondering about duration and that stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. The programs themselves are 2-year programs. And again, these are all the advanced programs. Those 2 years are divided up into 6 terms, which means that terms are 4 months and with 2-week breaks in between. It's a total of 24 courses. So, and you already saw this same format maybe in the 2D animation overview, if you took a look at that. 4 courses each term, which means also 4 days of classes each term. And that's actually 20 hours a week. Okay, so that's 12 hours of lecture. And a lecture, I always say a lecture is not maybe a traditional lecture. If you sit with 100 students or 150 students in a large lecture hall, classes are small with a lot of interactivity. Of course, you're working a lot on projects. This is all about hands-on learning, right? This is about getting your really getting your experience of creating content. So again, it's called lecture, but really it's interactive classes and lab time. And lab time is where you essentially work on homework, on assignments, on projects, still with the support of an instructor or lab instructor. But that's essentially the time that you're spending in the classroom environment. But outside of that, of course, you can also, and most students do work at home about 10 hours a week, I would say, another 10 hours a week to make sure you can work on assignments. Yeah. So tuition, what does it include? There's a computer and hardware on campus. Of course, software licenses for educational purposes. So you do get those licenses and other resources that you need, whether it be assets like models or any other sort of resources that you may need. Access to industry events and guest speakers. Now, I kind of want to emphasize on that one because that's one of the coolest things. Like, keep in mind that when you're in Vancouver, like this is a small industry, and having access to that industry, that's really like one of the great things about being in one of these programs. So we have industry events where, you know, you might just meet some industry experts. And of course, you already have the instructors that are industry experts. And those are the type of people that are going to be potentially be referring you to a job, right? Or going to be that connection that you have in a studio that you want to work at. So it's a really cool thing about these programs is having that access, which gets me to the next point, Student Work Initiative Program. This is a super cool initiative where students get the opportunity to already work for studios while studying. Okay, now I do want to emphasize this is not something that every student gets or you're just handed a job, because that's not how the world works. But it is an opportunity for qualified students to already get that experience, because as you're a student in Canada, you are allowed to work on the side as well. So this can be an opportunity, and many students have had this opportunity to work in a studio while studying, ended up working at that same studio right as they graduated. So it's just a perfect transition from being a student to working in the industry. Networking, mentorship from industry insiders, and you know, in the end, your work is showcased on a graduate showcase website. We have artist promotion events. So really the goal here of these programs is, besides teaching you all the technical and artistic knowledge that you need to get to succeed, it's also really getting you that interaction with the industry and that path into the industry. Tools, you know, this is, you know, this set of software, it does change over time just because new cool stuff comes out. But, you know, I guess the best thing to summarize it is we teach what the industry uses. So we work not only for your instructors, but we work on a higher level with our industry partners. We talk to them, hey, what's being used these days? You know, any cool new software you've been playing around with that you maybe, you know, feel like new students should be learning, because of course you want to learn the software that's being used today, right? You don't want to learn software that was used 5 years ago or 10 years ago, because that stuff's outdated. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about the individual programs, how they use it. But, you know, again, that's the type of software that we're teaching. So let's talk about advanced visual effects. Let's right away get into the next slide here, Matt. So long bit of text, but focus on the fundamentals of visual effects and integration of virtual production workflows. Now, things that you'll learn in the VFX program are things like modeling, sculpting, texturing, surfacing, lighting, compositing, and effects, of course. One of the super cool things about this program is that we're adding have added a virtual production component to it, which means that you're also going to get exposure to the Unreal Engine. And the Unreal Engine, many of you are probably familiar with it, is a very powerful engine. Very often has already been used in games for a very long time, and more is now also being used for movies. And that's also actually what Paul was saying. Of course, Fishflight has been using Unreal for a long time, and now more and more studios are picking up on that. And here you see some great work from our students from our VFX program. But again, it's more to emphasize on the diversity of what you get to create. And the diversity, by the way, you may already know what you want to be. You may not know exactly what you want to do within VFX. That both are fine. But one of the great things is learning these various skills or disciplines, because if you know a little bit of everything, you're going to be so much better at working in a team, like what Isha was saying, right? It's all about collaboration. It's all about knowing what other people do too, and then specializing on your skill. So again, you can really see that highlighted here. And then again, this sort of emphasizes my previous point that the number of pathways is actually quite incredible. Anywhere from a 3D modeler, lighter, effects artist, matte painter, and I'm not going to name them all, but you can see a lot of different paths. And we see students ending up in all these places, right? It's really up to you to take the most out of these programs. We offer the connections and the skill set to essentially prepare you for any of these careers. But you're going to have to find out what it is that you want to do. Okay, next program, Advanced 3D Animation and 3D Modeling. I think that name pretty clear by itself. But of course, talking about 3D modeling and sculpting, but also rigging, and of course I would say rigging, but and texturing, surfacing. Some of the really cool elements in this program that you don't really see anywhere else is topics like creature rigging. So more than just humanoid rigging, we're really getting into very, very advanced levels of a lot of topics, but particularly also rigging is really one of those really tough topics. And studios have a tough time finding riggers. In fact, we sometimes have a tough time finding rigging instructors because they're just so hard to find. So that's what we also look at, right? We look at, hey, what is something that studios are looking for? What should we teach students so that when they graduate, studios are like, hey, I want, I really want to get all these people. And yeah, those are the core things that we add in this program. And then again, you see some of this great student work here. Anywhere from drawing to, of course, primarily or all the work that is done here is digital and using digital tools. Yeah. As a programmer myself, I'm always amazed what artists can create. So I always love looking at that. Career pathways, animator, modeler are maybe the more obvious one, texturing, of course, and rigging. But creature animator, like I said, that's one of those things that we teach, not many other people do. And a lot of other subdivisions within those roles. And then advanced game development. And I may be a bit biased because I really like this program because, of course, I come from a big games background. So when it comes to advanced game development, there is there are essentially three core disciplines: art, design, and programming. And the fourth one may be production. But those three are where we see a lot of students come in that have a different goal from the program. And it's similar in the other programs, but I think this one always highlights it quite clearly. Some people come in and they say, I want to be an artist, and some people want to be a programmer, and some want to be a designer. Now, all of those things are things that you'll be learning, and you get to choose what you want to focus on, okay? If you're very interested in becoming a game programmer, this program will definitely prepare you for a career in gameplay programming. And one of the ways that works very well is because these programs are super team focused. Okay, so you're doing, of course, a lot of learning by yourself. You got to learn how these tools work. You got to learn some programming, at least for everyone, and of course for the programmers even more. But once you work in a team, you're going to be working as for example, a programmer with a designer, with an artist, and you all work together to create that final product. And that's really what I love always seeing in the graduates of these programs, is that you see very different people come out, but they all know what it's like to work in a team. They all understand and value what the other people do, because they're like, hey, and I'll do the same thing. I look at artists and designers, I'm so impressed with the stuff they're doing. And then, I can help them with my programming skills.
We were losing you.
Was that already it?
We were losing you there a bit, Evo.
Oh,
that's
sorry, you lost me there?
It's okay.
Oh,
it's okay. So you were just, I think we understood the gist of it. And some of the roles, I was just jumping on in case it didn't stop.
Yeah. Imagine excitement about games, lots of games. That's really what we do. Roles, I mean, this is the largest list maybe of all. It's just, again, I laugh because it's just like so big and we didn't even get all of them in. And again, this is what we see students do, right? We don't just come up with this stuff. This is what students end up doing. So a lot of designer roles, a lot of programmer roles, artist roles, also project manager roles, UI designers, it's really great to see that this program can produce all these different types of essentially professionals.
Yeah, and back to what you mentioned about rigging. I mean, luckily we've had amazing success with the people that focused on rigging. They're all working, as you said, because riggers are in such high demand. If you have the technical chops to deal with rigging and turn it into an art form, I mean, you'll just never be without work. We have people that are already leads at major studios that came out of the program. I mean, they were very successful before in their career, but they took animation, they focused on rigging, and now they're working on crazy film projects. So yes, high demand jobs. If you want to find a good career that's in demand, I mean, it's worth doing the research and then picking one of these programs and using it as your springboard into big money, big success by picking the right career path, right?
If I can, yeah, exactly. If I can add to that, because I know sometimes, depending on your background, but sometimes some parents may have some doubt when you talk about entertainment arts, and they're like, "Hey, is that a real job?" But look into it. Look at like what the studios are offering, and look at the demand that's out there, because and we're just at the beginning, right? I can talk a long time about the future of entertainment arts, but we're just at the beginning of this giant digital revolution where the need for content creators, whether it be games, VFX, animation, the need for content creators is gonna grow, and it's gonna grow a lot. So definitely, if you want job security, this is where you want to be.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate your time. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to play a little video featuring our foundation program, and then we're going to talk to Ed after.
If I can narrow it down to one term, is visual decision making. You need to be able to observe what you see first, then you'll be able to make a decision on what you do with that information. It's almost like a trick question, right? Like you ask people, do you know how to see? Everyone's immediate answer is yes. And then you ask them how to explain what they see. Let's say on a paper, on a monitor. Suddenly there's like this kind of wall they hit, because what we see is actually a lot of representation. There's shapes, there's colors, there's value, there's lighting, right? All these kind of information, we have to learn how to break it down to its most fundamental elements. And learning how to piece them all together is really what we do in the foundation. And a lot of students are like, oh, now I really learn how to see.
Hello.
Hi, Ed. How's it going?
Hi. Good.
It's good. Thanks for joining us today. It's going to talk us through the Foundation in Entertainment Arts Certificate Program.
For sure. Yeah. So foundation, right? Foundation is a 1 year, 3-term certificate program. And as the name implies, it is to build a foundation for kind of all the advanced program you've seen so far. One of the, hopefully, like you make this through, I'm sure some of you in the audience have this question in your head is, I have a little experience, or I don't have any experience at all. I'm really interested in this field as a whole. How do I approach it? And foundation program is really designed for you in mind to help you connect the dots, right? Is how do we even begin to, right? When you hear Matt and Evo talk about rigging, right? How do I even begin to think about that job, right? It sounds so technical, difficult, right? That's kind of how we want to direct you, right, in the right place, is by helping you with the very, very basic in just like how to see, or what do you even pay attention to within all the visual information. So the program itself, if we move on to the next slide, is going to consist of many of the fundamental courses like figure drawing, color and design, sculpting, and much more, is So we not only use these kind of very basic, like traditional medium, like charcoal or clay, right? But because of what these programs can lead into is we'll also use industry level software like Photoshop, like ZBrush to also teach you the same thing. And by connecting that, the kind of the technical part side of it and the artistic side of it, you will have built a very solid foundation and the confidence to kind of pick and choose what advanced program you'll get into. So these are some of the work that you'll be able to do within this program. And if you just look at, right, just the faces themselves, there's the traditional clay, there's traditional charcoal drawings. There's also digital photography where, right, you look at the faces and digital painting as well. So you learn to not just deal with subject matter, is you learn to deal with it in many, many different formats. And each of those formats will lead you down a very specific path in terms of which advanced program you'll get into. So this also leads to a bigger question about portfolio, right? Is this program is really to help you prepare your portfolio for the advanced program. And some of you will also be, hey, I have some experience in animation or some experience in the visual effects, is you can also submit that and we'll help you kind of gauge where you're at in terms of level, help you decide, right, which path is better for you. The portfolio submission should be 10 to 20 pieces for the advanced programs, 5 to 10 for the foundation certificate. And you might ask, like, what should I submit as a whole, right? So in terms of visual effects, it's much better if we see some more related stuff. So like whether it's right, you have experience in filming, editing photos, post-processing. For 3D is, do you have any 3D experience? If you've done drawing, do you have an understanding of 3D spatial format? If you're interested in games, do you have experience like organizing a interactive like game design, that kind of thing? Okay, and so for foundation is really is anything you've created so far will help you kind of gauge where your level is at.
I think
So if you have
that's-
more, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think that was pretty much foundations in a nutshell. We could talk about it. We'll have to have a foundations info session, but it's nice to see the success of students that did the foundations program and then moved into the advanced programs. We have some that are, I think this is going to be our first graduating class in December, where people have done the full 3-year kind of path. And they tend to say foundations was great because it really set them up for success in the advanced programs, because you get introduced to all the software, you get introduced, as you said, to like what is rigging. And then by the time you get into advanced animation, say, you would understand exactly what rigging is and what it's not, along with all the other techniques used. So it's definitely an important thing to consider if you are lacking experience, or say you're just out of high school and you're like, man, I have these artistic skills, but maybe they're just all in the traditional space and you've not kind of delved into the digital. So it's definitely something to look at and do your research and figure out if it's for you.
Yeah, that's right. And like I just want to add, like, to wrap it up, is it really helps you to build the confidence to tackle the stuff that is still unknown to you. And that's such a key to kind of progress as an artist, right? Is you don't want to kind of second guess yourself. Which direction am I going, right? Am I even using the correct software? Am I approaching it the right way? And how foundation really builds that confidence from the very beginning, so you don't waste a lot of time future.
Don't waste other people's time too, because it's such an interactive career path where you're dealing with people, as Isha said, upstream and downstream from yourself, and to be able to have those conversations and understand what other people are doing and why they're doing it is so big in these set of industries, and it gives you power if you understand all aspects of the pipeline and where you fit in and what is required of you and your work.
Yeah.
Okay. Ed. Well, it's
Yeah,
great to
thank
see
you,
you.
Matt.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna bring on Ken. Ken, are you there? Hey, Ken.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself? Thank you for
Good. This is
having
yeah, no problem. This is the first time Ken and I have ever met, so you're seeing a real, live, honest introduction.
me.
Okay, so Ken's gonna talk us through recruitment and admissions stuff, some logistical stuff. So I'll let you do that.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Matt and the team for the beautiful presentations. I hope the people have been enjoying it and taking lots of notes. As Matt said, my name is Ken Abad. I'm the International Recruitment Coordinator for KPU. So I work specifically for the international team. I'm going to be talking about general admissions for KPU and how the application looks like, how the application process. So to start, we have 3 intakes per year. This is not just for ENTA or the ENTA programs, but for all programs in KPU. So we have the spring semester, which starts in January. We have the summer semester, which starts in May. And we have the fall semester, which starts in September. I just want to note all these programs are available for all the semesters. And they are what we call a limited intake program. So meaning there's a limited number of seats. So each semester will have a certain amount of seats that we have to fill. And this is very important for you guys because seats could run out, right? So it is recommended you apply as soon as you can. And the application starts on our website. So how to apply? For number one, you apply for admissions. You go to our website at kpu.ca/apply. In this page, it will bring you to a website called Education Planner BC, which is a general website that every post-secondary in BC, Canada uses. So don't be surprised if you're getting brought out to a different link. So you apply at this website, and you got to make sure you indicate whether you're a Canadian PR holder or an international student. The process is slightly different, and I'll try my best to to show the differences or to mention the differences between the two. So once you apply, you're going to get an email from us. We call it the next steps letter. So this letter is going to just talk about all the details on like your KPU student ID, how to log into your KPU account, how to check your emails, and how and where to submit your portfolios. So Ed and Ivo mentioned about the portfolio requirements for the programs, and these are very important as part of your application to us. So number 2, you check your application checklist and submit your documents. So this was instructed to you in the email I mentioned earlier. You could log into our website and then check your checklist. So you could check your application status, see what documents you submitted, which documents have been processed, which are still in queue. And then once we go through your portfolio and we find this is an amazing portfolio, I want this student in this program, we're going to send you an offer letter. And you're going to get the offer. The offers are going to have instructions and your confirmation deposit on possibly conditions. You accept the offer and you will get a letter of acceptance from us. And if you're an international student, this step is very important because the letter of acceptance is the letter that will allow you to apply for a study permit. So before you come to Canada, as soon as you get the letter of acceptance, please just look into how to apply for your study permit. It can take, depending on the backlog with the Immigration Canada, it can take 2 months, 3 months, 4 or 5 months, right? So it depends on the country, whether you're applying from within or outside of Canada. Of course, if you're a Canadian or PR holder, you don't need any of that. And once you get in, you apply for your study permit 6 weeks before classes, start registering for courses, and make sure you attend the new student orientation. Next slide, please. Thank you, Matt. And you must be thinking, well, what are the requirements for the program, right? So we already mentioned portfolio. So that's one of the biggest requirements. It's something you have to be aware of. It's putting your portfolio together. So right now, if you're already thinking, this is the program for me, I would start brainstorming, thinking about what you're going to include in your portfolio, right? And outside of portfolio, this actually counts for Canadians or international students as well, is the language requirement. So if you're a Canadian student, you attended high school all throughout your life in Canada, all you have to do is pretty much get your high school transcript sent to us and meet the English requirement. So it must be weird. You're thinking, I grew up in Canada. Of course, I speak English. But you do have to meet the English requirement. And this is just a general requirement for any program in KPU, a university requirement. It's just to make sure for us that you're at a university level English, and you're not going to have trouble with all the different, the academic terms and the slang that you're going to learn throughout your academic career. So for that, it would be an English 12 minimum grade of C+. If you're also an international student who's attending a BC high school, it would be the same requirement if you took English 12. If you did not take English 12, or you're an international student who is coming from outside of Canada, we do have other testing options you could see here highlighted. The most common one would be IELTS. So with an overall score of 6.5 with no sub-score less than 6.0. TOEFL as well, 88 with no subscore less than 8 or 20, and as well Duolingo. So we are one of the rare schools who are still accepting Duolingo, and we are looking to accept it in the near future. So it's 110 plus or more. Thank you, Matt. And tuition credits. So for tuition credits, this is really dependent on the budget and depends on the term. So it's ever changing. And it's also dependent on whether you're an international student or domestic. I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that all students can receive tuition credits, but it's highly dependent on your portfolio. So kind of backing up a bit, this is, we mentioned portfolios, mentioning again for like the 4th time. It's just, this is how important it is. If your portfolio is ranked first or ranked at the top, you could be eligible for a tuition credit. We will contact you in regards to that. As I mentioned, it is ever changing. So I'm not going to go into too much details about it, but just aware for the future applicants, portfolio. Next slide, please. And the tuition. So you can kind of get an idea on the cost of the programs here for international and domestic students. So you could see the prices, and the tuition credits will come after that as well. Do note these are just the tuition costs. There's going to be costs on top of this, living costs, textbooks, if there are textbooks for the programs, and just like living and rent, of course, right? If you're coming from outside of Canada, you have to be thinking about that as well. Next slide, please. And the postgraduate work permit. So this is very pertinent to international students. We are a public accredited university here in Canada. Meaning programs, any academic program you take at KPU will be eligible for the PGWP. So if you're planning to apply for this after you finish your program, because it is the advanced diplomas are 2-year programs, you will be eligible for up to 3 years, based on review, of course, by the immigration officer. If you're looking to just take the foundation program, it is just a 1-year program. So that could reflect the length of your PGWP. But I believe if you're taking the foundation, you're most likely going to go into an advanced diploma after anyways. So just a quick rundown of admissions and the requirements we look for when you're applying to KPU. Of course, I couldn't go through every detail and every step, but if you do have future questions, please feel free to contact us. You could contact, if you're a Canadian or PR student, you could contact us at study@kpu.ca. If you're an international student, whether you're studying in or outside of Canada, please contact us at international@kpu.ca, and we'll put it down in the chat as well. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Ken. I just want to say as well with the portfolio stuff, some people are, they just need guidance even putting their portfolio together. So there's options. You can go to the ca.ca and just contact us through our contact. And we can even look at your portfolio before you apply and let you know if there's anything else you need, or if you need to maybe put a bit more time in it. We're happy to provide that service in the hopes to just help you with a bit of guidance and things. And as Ken said, there's a huge team at KPU with a ton of advantages they offer in their admissions and enrollment, and they can provide you with a crazy amount of information to really help you do the research and set you up for success. So go to those links that Ken has mentioned. They're in the chat. And thank you, Ken, for joining us. We really
Thank you so much, Matt and the team.
Okay, thanks, Ken. So as I was saying, CA team as well is here to support and provide guidance. So you can go to our website, the ca.ca, and contact us through there, and we can kind of help shepherd you along and answer any questions you have pre admissions or enrollment if you have those. We can also put you in touch with program directors about your portfolio, or just get more technical or questions answered about the courses and all that stuff. So we're here for that. So please reach out if you have that need. And again, the foundations program is there for people who know they want to do this, but maybe are lacking the experience to jump right into an advanced program, because we call them advanced programs for a reason. They're 2-year program geared to set you up to like march right into the industry as a strong junior or even a lower end intermediate. So it's pretty serious stuff, and it's not really recommended for anybody with zero experience, unless you're coming from, say, another technical career like programming. You could probably do well in games. Or if you are a high level mathematician and you want to get into animation, there's probably a path for you there. But if you have no artistic experience, it's definitely something to research and consider. A little bit more about the Student Work Initiative program at the CA. So recently the Canadian government opened it up, and it's no longer a 20-hour per week limit until the end of next year. So that creates a different set of problems for us, because we want to encourage students to go out there and work while they study, but we don't want to encourage students to do that at the detriment of their education. So we're taking December, kind of revamp the program and figure out new parameters to make sure that we're giving students the best program through the work initiative, and making sure we're not burning people out, because studio life can be very hectic. And if you go to a studio and you fit in and you're doing great work, they're going to want you to work more, and they might request that you work those 40. So you have to find a good balance between maintaining a high academic standing and completing this course, and then also life at studio and figuring out your pathway towards the industry. So lots of information will be coming out, kind of revamp program in January, right after the holidays. So we look forward to releasing that. And of course, we have regional directors or managers in all across the world to help people with questions and guidance on immigration and all that stuff. These are career professionals that have been doing this forever, and they do have all the answers. And if they don't have the answers, they get them from other people. So you can see Virginia, Mert, Gustavo, and Minnie are all there. I'll leave that up for a second if anybody needs to screenshot that. And it's also on the CA website, ca.ca. So this is a great endpoint if, say, you're in South America, and Virginia can connect you with the KPU folks and the same region. Same with Mert and Gustavo and Minnie. They're in contact with KPU, and they can help you with guidance and answer all your questions. So I'm not sure if Mayoresh is around, but recently we hired a creative producer who's also a student at KPU. His name's Mayoresh Ambakar. He comes from India, and he's an amazing artist. As you can see, he creates fantastic murals. He's a great photographer. He's also a good digital illustrator and painter. So Mayoresh is with us, and he is helping us with the student events. He recently put on a CA Air event where we had a live model, and Mayoresh invited students off campus to do a live model drawing or painting illustration session. We had photographers there, so exciting stuff. You can check out that type of thing on the CA LinkedIn, CA Global EDU. That's our YouTube handle now as well. Now that YouTube's rolled out handles, so CA Global EDU. You'll see lots of media and lots of videos and lots of student features and instructor features and all that stuff, showing off our industry connections. So yeah, having Mayoresh now, not only a student, but somebody who's helping us with the creative stuff is fantastic. And we're pretty much done here, but let's, oh, there's Mayoresh in the chat. Ask him any questions if you have them. So if there's, I noticed the questions have been going the entire session, and it seems like everything's okay. Reshare. Here we go. There's the regional managers. You can take a screen grab of that. It's also on the back end of our website, the ca.ca. Just go to the contact page, and all of those names are there as well. The ca.ca. And you can see Ken has dropped all the KPU links in the chat above. So grab those. Fantastic. And we'll just hang out here for about 5 minutes. We'll let this run. If anybody else has any more questions, please feel free to ask them. And yeah, so thank you for all of our guests for joining us. Thank you to everybody for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm going to say goodbye, but I'll leave the chat open for another 5 minutes in case there's any other questions. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Take care wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you soon.